and Hisses, a music podcast where we talk to bands you love, talk about concerts, and answer your burning music questions. I'm your host, Kevin Coffey, and in this episode, we're talking about the very best concerts coming to Omaha and Lincoln, Nebraska this summer. So it's summer music season. It is all kicking off right now in March, and it's going through the end of the summer. There's lots of concerts coming. I do want to say, though, before you turn off the podcast if you're not in Nebraska, there's still something valuable for you here. Listen along, find out what great tours are around this summer. So all these shows are coming to Nebraska. Well, they're obviously coming to other places too. They're touring the country. Take a look and see when your favorite band is coming to your local venue. Also, if you want, you could flip back a few episodes. Find our list of the biggest and best tours on the road this summer going all over the country. So I want to let you know that if you'd like to ask a question for a future episode too, head over to popsandhisses.com/question and fill out the form. It's really easy and just take a second, and you could be featured on a future episode of the show. So we're going to get to that list of Omaha concerts soon, but first I want to talk about a few different things. First of all, keep looking at popsandhisses.com for concert reviews and other information. Concerts are heating up again. That's why we're doing this episode of the podcast, and we're going to be seeing more shows. We've recently done reviews of Tool and Billie Eilish, and we were going to be headed to some concerts got postponed. I think changing things up a little bit, trying to navigate the schedule. I'm going to go see Gary Newman this week, and lots more are coming up. Also want to talk about the news. There's lots going on in the music world. In today's news, this last week, Aaron Lewis said some really stupid stuff on stage. So the frontman of Staind, he's now a country singer. Lewis was performing in Ohio when he went off on a rant about Democratic and Republican politicians. There was some real QAnon stuff thrown in for good measure, and then he started talking about Russia. He said, as fucked up as it sounds, maybe we should listen to what Vladimir Putin is saying. That was a quote he said before quoting a bunch of discredited YouTube videos about the war and talking about, maybe we should be looking more into Ukraine, the nefarious stuff going on there. And it's just kind of, unfortunately, insane. And he just sounds like a clown. So I hope nobody at that show felt the need to investigate his crazy rants. Obviously, somebody at the show filmed it and posted it, so he's gotten called out for that. Really weird stuff going on there. In other news, we got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominations are out, and Dolly Parton was nominated for the Rock Hall, but she asked to decline the nomination. So as part of a larger statement, she said, and I'm quoting here, "Even though I'm extremely flattered to be nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I don't feel like I've earned that right. I really don't want the vote split because of me, so I must respectfully bow out." Now, the Rock Hall itself answered that with its own statement, saying that ballots are already out, in addition to saying, well, from its inception, this is another quote from the Rock Hall, "Rock and roll has had deep roots in rhythm and blues and country music. Dolly Parton's music has impacted a generation of young fans and influenced countless artists that followed. We're in awe of Dolly's brilliant talent and pioneering spirit and are proud to have nominated her for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame." So, this is a fundamental misunderstanding that happens to artists in and out of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and even fans. Like, the misunderstanding is that they strictly have to make rock and roll and nothing else. They don't. The Rock Hall is not bound by genre at all. In fact, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame even says, it's more of the spirit of rock and roll than it is the literal must fit a very slim genre than anything. That's why we keep seeing hip-hop artists come into this. We've seen country artists be nominated and be accepted. Even some of the rock and roll members that have been inducted aren't even strictly rock and roll. They represent all kinds of different sides and shades of the genre. So, would the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame better be named the American Music Hall of Fame? Well, yes, of course it would be, because that's really what it represents. Except, they're not all American. But, Modern Popular Music Hall of Fame, but that name kind of sucks, doesn't it? It's not as cool of a name as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I don't think they should change it. I do think these artists should just educate themselves on it, whether they're the crazy ones going off about how hip-hop artists don't deserve to be in my Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or they're country artists like Dolly, whom I love and respect very much, kind of misunderstanding why they've even been nominated to it. It's an honor for our best artists, no matter the genre. All right, so it's only March, but most of the summer's concert season has already been announced. We've racked up dozens and dozens of shows for this list, and I'm going to run through them one by one. One thing I'd like to point out, these shows are being announced all the time. Some are being postponed, canceled, rescheduled, whatever. go to popsandhisses.com and find our written list. There you'll find ticket information, dates, tons more information. Plus, that post will continue to be updated as more good shows are announced. We're going to keep adding to it, rearranging things that they need to be. So, up-to-date information for all these great shows coming to Omaha and Lincoln, all these great concerts in Nebraska. Keep looking at that page. Bookmark it if you need to. You'll also notice, though, I didn't include every single thing coming to town. We'd be here all day. We'd be talking about this for hours and hours. So I just picked my favorites. That might not be your favorite either. So one thing you should also do, check out your local promoter, check out your local venue websites for even more concert dates and ticket information. So we're going to get started. As I'm recording this podcast, these shows are coming up right now and happening immediately. So the list kicks off now, goes through the end of the summer. We're going to start off with Todd Snyder, the self-described tree-hugging, peace-loving, pot-smoking, porn-watching, lazy-ass hippie singer-songwriter is back. He has a brand new album called The First Agnostic Church of Hope and Wonder. It's got 10 brand new tracks, and you can catch him March 23rd at the Bourbon Theater in Lincoln. Those tickets are on sale at 1%productions.com. Next up is Gary Newman. You probably know Gary Newman's hit Cars, but it's his pioneering work with synth rock, electronic music, industrial rock that's inspired generations of musicians. He's still at it, and his latest, Intruder, was released last year. You can catch him March 23rd at the Waiting Room. Get those tickets at 1%productions.com. I was excited about this next artist. Greta Van Fleet was coming to CHI Health Center on March 25th. However, the show got postponed. This band's famous for its classic rock sound, but the show was postponed due to an illness in the band. It's going to be rescheduled soon. They're going to be coming back to CHI. Probably those dates tacked onto the end of their tour, so keep a look at Ticketmaster.com. If you've already got those tickets, they'll be good for the new date. But check Ticketmaster.com, check CHIHealthCenter.com, and you will be able to find when those guys are coming back. Elton John is on his way back to Nebraska, so Sir Elton continues his long-running farewell tour with yet another stop. I saw this tour a couple of years ago. He plays every song you could possibly imagine. The set design's really cool. He talks a lot about how about his history writing these songs with Bernie Taupin, stuff like that. So it's a really fun show. You should go check that out. He will be at Pinnacle Bank Arena in Lincoln on March 27th. Another band that I'm excited to see is Sister Hazel. So this 90s alt-rock band is responsible for hits like All For You, but they continued to make new music. A lot of their contemporaries, made some hits 20 years ago and then stopped. These guys keep at it. You can catch them March 31st at Barenaked out in West Omaha. All right, now we've moved on to April, and the Wanted Dead or Alive band Bon Jovi is going to kick off its 2022 tour with a stop in Omaha. If you've never seen Bon Jovi live before, it's exactly what you're thinking of your prototypical rock and roll tour. It's big, it's loud, it's filled with hits, it's a really good time, and you can check out Bon Jovi on April 1st at CHI Health Center. Next up, we've got We Were Promised Jetpacks. This Scottish indie rock band has easily one of the very best names of all time, and their music's great too. So check out their new album, Enjoy the View. It's a little bit of a sonic departure, a little more chill, a little more melodic, a little bit different than before, and you can catch them April 2nd at the Waiting Room Lounge. Switching genres, something a little different, Riff Raff is coming to town. The Houston rapper known perhaps more or as much for his sparkling grills, tattoos, and hair, as his music is going to be showing up in Omaha. He's going to be at Barenaked on April 5th. Next up is Kishi Bashi. This singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist is an absolute delight. Check out his studio albums for sure, but also give a listen to his 2 live records to get a little bit of an expectation, which you'll see when he comes to Omaha. It's really great stuff. You can see him April 8th at Slowdown. Now, next up on the list is Ashley Mcbride. That'll be a cool show. She'll be here April 9th at the Admiral, but maybe the most notable thing about this show for local music fans here in Omaha, it's the very first show at the newly renovated Sokol Auditorium. So Sokol has been there for 100 years, literally on 13th and Martha Streets. Recently, it was purchased by 1% Productions, who owns the Waiting Room, Reverb, books shows all over town. They bought Sokol, they're refurbishing the place, and rechristened it the Admiral. So this will be the first show there, and I'm looking forward to seeing that new venue in action. Ashley McBride, April 9th at the Admiral is kind of a grand opening of sorts. Be really cool. Next up is Brother Ali. So the Rhymesayers rapper, community leader, and speaker from Minneapolis is Brother Ali. He's really great. He's headed to Omaha. Seeing him live isn't enough. Check out his podcast, Travelers Podcast. He's got a lot of really interesting people on there. This one's really cool because it's April 12th at Reverb Lounge. That's just a really small, intimate place to be seeing him. It should be really, really cool. So, Industrial Rockers Orgy are back on the road for their revival tour, which is really exciting for fans. The band hasn't played more than a handful of dates in decades, but they announced that this year they're back at it, back out on the road. They're going to be headed to Nebraska coming April 13th to the Bourbon Theater in Lincoln. So, next up is Mogwai. The Scottish instrumental band is back at it with a new album. It's called As the Love Continues. AllMusic called it another peak in their long and influential career. They'll be playing lots of that new record, as well as all their old stuff, when they come April 14th to the Waiting Room Lounge. This next one is a big one. You're going to get Snoop Dogg and Co Wetzel coming on April 20th to Pinnacle Bank Arena. Yeah, 420 with Snoop Dogg in Nebraska. It's true, it's real, it's happening. This is going to be an epic show. You might want to bring a gas mask if you don't want to inhale anything. Snoop Dogg on 420. That's going to be a really wild one. Might be a little bit of a party atmosphere in downtown Lincoln. If you don't know Co Wetzel, he's a country rock singer-songwriter, also likes weed. So that one kind of fits together. It'll be an interesting combination of crowds and people looking to have a good time on 420. Won't be quite as much smoke in the air when George Strait comes to town, but the Country Troubadour is back out on the road. So he retired from doing long tours a few years ago. You know, he doesn't do those 90-date tours that take up half the year and whatever, but he still continues to perform. He performs live in Las Vegas. He does occasional small tours. So this one's going to bring him to Lincoln. He's had a lot of success here in Nebraska. He'll be at Pinnacle Bank Arena on April 23rd, and you'll be lucky to see the King of Country when he comes to town. He's fantastic. Next up is a big, loud show. You might want to bring earplugs to this one. It's going to be Megadeth and Lamb of God are coming to town. Every time I've seen Megadeth, they head out on a tour packed with other artists. This one's no different. It's going to be pretty cool. Lamb of God, of course, is on the bill, and I'm a little more excited about seeing them than Megadeth, partly because I've seen Megadeth a bunch of times, but it'll be a good one. Also especially awesome because these tickets are so cheap. So they're coming April 26th to Baxter Arena. Those tickets are only about $35 before fees. Catch those at Ticketmaster.com. Rounding out the month of April, we've got Destroyer, and that's Dan Behar's band. Destroyer's back with a new album, Labyrinthitis, which Behar said started out as a dance music record. Something a little different for them, but of course, that was his intention, but Behar kind of put his own Destroyer twist on it. In their review, Spin said that this is just Behar having a good time, and it's a really great record to listen to. You can get those tickets to see Destroyer on April 28th at the Waiting Room Lounge. Those are over at 1%productions.com. Kicking off the beginning of May is going to be Matt Carney. He's playing May 4th at the Admiral. He's got a new album called January Flower. He took an entirely new approach to writing music. He holed up in a remote house with a friend and an acoustic guitar. He wrote the entire album on that guitar. And, of course, later, Carney took those songs into the studio, ramped up his production, built them into full, beautiful songs. You kind of still hear those original acoustic tracks at the heart of every song. It's a good album. I recommend you check it out. And also check out my interview with Matt Carney right here on the Pops and Hisses podcast. Scroll back a little bit in the feed and you'll see that there. We had a great conversation about that record. It's going to be cool to see him in town then. Same night as Matt Carney, you got to make a choice. Are you a Matt Carney fan? Are you a Mudhoney fan? Actually, the next one on this list is also the same night, but Mudhoney, one of the original Seattle grunge scene, they're still at it. They recently received, actually, the honor of being named the archetypal grunge band by none other than Kim Thale, guitarist from Soundgarden. That's quite the honor from that guy. They're playing May 4th at Slowdown. Also, the same night, May 4th, over at the Waiting Room, it's going to be a busy night, is Beach Bunny. They're a fun power pop band. They once played Omaha Music Festival. Now they're back to headline the Waiting Room. They have a new EP, their latest EP anyway. Blame Game was released just last year, and Consequence said it was a 4-track look at toxic masculinity and laborious relationships, and that their band hasn't lost their talent for earworms. So one of the things that's also happened to Beach Bunny is they've become popular on TikTok because they're just catchy and fun. So that's going to be a fun show, May 4th at the Waiting Room Lounge. A lot of decisions to make May 4th. Are you a Beach Bunny person, a Mudhoney person, or a Matt Carney person? Hopefully you're not all three, because that might make for a sad night for you. Later on in May, we're going to see Hailstorm. So Lizzie, Hale, and Hailstorm are back on tour after launching the #RoadieStrong project to support out-of-work road crew during the pandemic. Musicians usually found a way to take a couple years off, but that's hard for their very hardworking crews who count on that for salaries and stuff like that. So they did a cool project trying to help those people out. They also announced a new album just a little bit ago. The new album's called Back from the Dead. It'll be released May 6th. And in announcing the record, Lizzie Hale said it deals with mental health, debauchery, survival, redemption, and rediscovery. Sounds like it's going to be another loud, good time from Hailstorm. Next up is Southern Culture on the Skids. So last year, while spending a lot of time at home, Southern Culture on the Skids, Rick Miller just recorded and mixed an entire 11-track album in his living room. That album is out now, and you can catch them playing songs from that record May 17th at the Waiting Room Lounge. One of my favorite bands to see is Built to Spill. They're coming back to town. The last time we got a new record from them was in 2020, and they released an entire album of Daniel Johnston songs. But who cares? We don't need new music from Built to Spill. The legendary rock band's amazing. I love Doug March. I love just seeing them rock out on stage. They're amazing to watch. Great to see live, no matter what they're playing. They're going to be here in Omaha on May 26th at the Waiting Room Lounge. Also coming to town is going to be Belle and Sebastian. This is a special show. I'm really excited to see the legendary Scottish indie pop band, even more so because they have a new album. I love hearing their new songs when they play. The new record's called A Bit of Previous. That's also coming out on May 6th, just before their stop in Omaha. So also cool from that. It's going on right now before the record comes out. They released the track and the video for If They're Shooting at You, and they've put it out in support of the people in Ukraine. So the video itself actually is a collaboration with Ukrainian photographers, and it highlights the situation in the ground and offers a message of solidarity and hope. They've pledged all artist income from that song, from streaming, digital sales to the Red Cross. So before that album comes out, go listen to If They're Shooting at You. Not only is it a great song, you're helping out a good cause and helping out people that really, really need it. They're going to be in town playing the Admiral on May 28th. You can get tickets to that one at 1%productions.com. Rounding out the month of May, I'm wondering, do you love pop punk? Do you wish it was still 2002? Then you will dig the hell out of seeing Sum 41 and Simple Plan together. It's your favorite radio punk songs from 20 years ago, like Fat Lip, In Too Deep, I'm Just a Kid, and Perfect. It's going to be a lot of fun. That one's coming to Stir Cove on May 20th. Should be the perfect place to go see that type of show. It would be a really good time. Those tickets are over at Ticketmaster.com. Moving into the month of June, kicking things off is Phoebe Bridgers. So we've been awaiting the return of Phoebe Bridgers for some time. The singer-songwriter's been here a few times with her Better Oblivion Community Center partner, Connor Oberst. And her star's been on the rise. First couple times we saw her, she was this budding indie rocker. Now she's a Grammy-nominated sensation. Everybody loves Phoebe Bridgers. Of course, you've heard of her. Everyone has. She's releasing her own music. She's also been collaborating with Bright Eyes on these expanded editions of their reissued records. Really fun stuff. So she is playing at the Waiting Room Outdoors. Should be a great outdoor show. That's on June 1st. Those tickets you can get at 1%productions.com. Also coming is AJR, so brothers Adam, Jack, and Ryan Met. They got a new album out. It's called OK Orchestra. They put it out last year. As always, writing, producing, and recording this thing all together. They'll be at Baxter Arena on June 8th. So there's one show that got announced a couple years ago, and due to the pandemic got moved around a few times. That's Matchbox 20. They're finally coming back to town. You can relive your favorite Matchbox 20 memories. I mean, let's be honest. The band has not released a new album in 10 years, but who gives a shit? You know the only thing you want to hear is everything off of Yourself or Someone Like You, right? So who cares that they don't have new music? You want to hear all the hits. They're going to deliver them for you. They're finally going to be here like 2.5 years after announcing the show. That's June 9th at CHI Health Center. This next one's one I've been waiting for. So a couple years ago, we were disappointed when we heard Turnpike Troubadours, the Oklahoma country band, was calling it quits. They said, indefinite hiatus, we don't know when we're coming back. But the news that they're coming back together and ready to hit the road was fantastic. They started talking about that last year. Their tour kicks off in May. They'll head to Omaha June 10th at the Admiral, just a little bit after kicking off that tour. And this is not just a great show because of Turnpike. That's going to be great. I'm really excited to see them. But also on the bill is Steve Earle and the Dukes and the Old 97s. This is an absolutely killer lineup. That's going to be a really fun one to see. That's June 10th at the Admiral. Go get those tickets now. That's one that if it hasn't sold out yet, it probably will. It's just going to be killer. We've got another nostalgia one on the list. New Kids on the Block, Salt and Peppa, En Vogue, and Rick Astley are coming together. It's 90s time. Go relive your favorite pop memories from decades past. See everybody you heard on the radio in 1993. This should be a good time. That's June 11th at Pinnacle Bank Arena. You probably know all the songs. June, I think, is my month for concerts in Omaha. One of my favorite bands to see live. One of the best live shows I've ever seen is from Churches. The Scottish indie pop band is back. They've got a new tour. They've got a new record, Screen Violence. Their electronic pop is just infectious. They're so much fun to see, especially good live. You are absolutely going to miss out if you don't see this show. They're going to be playing June 15th at the Admiral. That's kind of the perfect place to see them. It'll feel like a dance club. You're going to have a great time. Next up is Roger Clyne and the Peacemakers. So if you're looking for some rock and roll and a good time, you got to go see Roger Clyne. Expect songs from the entirety of Clyne's discography, including The Refreshments. They play all those songs. They play all the songs from the Peacemakers. Man, that is just a fun time. Great performance from that band. They will be at the Waiting Room Lounge on June 17th. So there might not be a better place to see Justin Vernon and his band Bon Iver than at the Pinewood Bowl in Lincoln. So the just gorgeous sloping lawn surrounded by 100-year-old trees is what you think of when you dream of an outdoor venue, and it's going to be gorgeous. Bon Iver's music is also just pretty. It's going to sound great in that place. They're coming to Pinewood Bowl in Lincoln on June 18th. All right, same night. I don't know if there's crossover between Bon Iver and this one, but MC Chris is going to be at the Waiting Room also on June 18th. So the Nerdcore rapper's on a tour titled The Last Tour. Is it really his last tour? Well, hate to say this, but it sure sounds like it by the way he's been talking about it on social media. He really is saying, this is my last tour. So if you want to see MC Chris, now's your chance. Get out there. Like I said, that one's June 18th at the Waiting Room Lounge. Don't get there. You might not be able to see him again. Coming up after that in June is Nico Case. So she's just one of the best singer-songwriters of her generation, right? She's going to be holding her own on stage June 23rd at the Admiral. That's going to be a cool show. It should be hot ticket as well, so get those tickets at 1%productions.com. Okay, another nostalgia tour. It wouldn't be a summer tour preview without a lot of these, but this time is Barenaked Ladies with Gin Blossoms and Toad the Wet Sprocket. Sign us up. All three of these bands are a good time. This one will touch on three different bands of kind of a similar era, right? All three of those maybe on the radio at the same time, but all three of them slightly different sounds, so should be a good mix. You probably know a bunch of songs by each one. That'll be really fun. That's out at Stir Cove on June 24th. Coming up after that is Bone Thugs and Harmony. They're coming June 24th to Barnado, so the long-running hip-hop group, that's Busy Bone, Wishbone, Lazy Bone, Crazy Bone, and Flesh and Bone. That's the band that MTV called the most melodic hip-hop group of all time. Some of the members have departed at various times and come back, but they are all back together right now on this tour. So now's your chance to go see them. Get out there. That's June 24th at Barnado. All right, one of my favorite bands to see live is Fitz and the Tantrums. I've seen a bunch of times, festivals, club shows, whatever. So even when they were little known kind of funk, pop, and soul band from California, they were absolutely slamming. They always give it their all. Now that they've got a host of pop hits like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and Hand Clap, their show's even more fun, even more electric. You'll know even more songs. Really, really fun. They'll be June 25th at Stir Cove. Those tickets are on Ticketmaster.com. Go check them out. All right, this one, the last one in June that I've got on my list, will help you relive your early days. It's Third Eye Blind and Taking Back Sunday. It pairs a pop rock band and an emo rock band together. Kind of an odd pairing, right? Am I the only one in thinking that? Totally odd pairing. But a lot of us like both bands, like me. So it should be really, really fun. I'm excited for that one. Side note, Third Eye Blind, my very first concert ever. I've always liked seeing them, and it's not just a nostalgia thing. I think they're talented, and they always put on a good show, so I'm excited to see those bands on the same bill. Should be really fun. That's June 29th at Stir Cove. Check it out. Real quick, I wanted to talk to you about this very podcast, Pops and Hisses, and our website, popsandhisses.com. The podcast is coming at you weekly. Keep an eye on your favorite podcast app. You can also follow me on Twitter at Omaha Music Guy for new episode alerts and talking about weird music stuff, like your least favorite songs of all time was one of the topics last week. That was a good conversation. I also want to tell you about our new merch. So we have t-shirts, tote bags, lots more. Find them over on our TeePublic store at teepublic.com/user/Pops and Hisses. You can also search TeePublic for Pops and Hisses or check out the link in our bio on our social media like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We've got it all linked there. We're adding new shirts as I come up with ideas and think of funny stuff. If you got any ideas, hit me with them. We will try to throw something in there for you. All right, now back to the list. We're kind of on the back half of summer. We're still talking about the best concerts coming to Omaha and Lincoln this summer. We're on to July. Right up front in the beginning of July, we've got Bright Eyes coming July 2nd and 3rd to the Admiral. That's a 2-night stand. Should be really fun. So Bright Eyes is back on their first tour in more than a decade. They kind of broke up after their last record. They were like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. But the Omaha-based indie rock band is in the middle of reissuing all of its albums. Each one comes with a bonus tracks that include new songs, covers, redone tracks, all kinds of stuff. It just sounds like Bright Eyes is having more fun than ever, and these shows, I hope, will reflect that. So I'm excited to see Bright Eyes back together on stage. Like I said, 2 nights, July 2nd, July 3rd, at the Admiral in Omaha. Those tickets are at 1%productions.com. So, Pussifer, I don't know if you know Pussifer, but it's perhaps the most theatrical of Maynard James Keenan's many bands, and you may have heard their music, but to truly experience this band, you've got to go see them live. Lucky for you, they are coming to the Admiral on July 5th. That's going to be a wild one. The last couple of years, I've seen Tool twice and A Perfect Circle, and Pussifer's been here a bunch, so get out there and see that show. That's going to be a really, really cool one. So next up on the list is Guided by Voices, and these guys just never really stop. So the indie rock band just released its 35th album. It's called Crystal Nuns Cathedral, and it's an album that Pop Matters called a late career masterpiece. So not only are they still at it, they are still doing it very well. Guided by Voices will be here July 9th at Slowdown. Go get those tickets at theslowdown.com. So this next one ain't nothing but a good time. Poison, the world's preeminent hair metal band, is on the road again. And have you ever seen them? They are an absolute blast. You know why? You know all the songs. The band is still killer. Everyone there is really looking for a good time, singing along, having a lot of fun. It's just really good time. If you ever wanted to see a band like Poison, go check them out. They're going to be here July 22nd at Stir Cove. All right, the long-running Omaha Indie Rock Festival, Maha Festival, is back. Back to 2 days. We've got July 29th and 30th at Stinson Park in Exarban Village. It's back again. The lineup was just announced this week. It includes Beach House, Princess Nokia, Car Seat Headrest, Pup, Indigo D'Souza, Sudan Archives, Bartees Strange, Geese, Sweeping Promises, and a bunch of local Omaha artists like La Cruxis. I'm probably saying that wrong, and I apologize. Marcy Yates, The Real Zebos, Dominique Morgan, Bad Self Portraits, and DJ Shorty. That one's going to be a fun one. Those are good bands. It's a good lineup. Always a good time at Maha. I'm sure you've been before if you're in Omaha. If not, it's probably time to go check it out. So July 29th and 30th, right in the heart of Omaha. Those tickets are on sale. Go get them at mahafestival.com. Moving on to August, we have got Sleigh Bells. So one of the best track ones of all time is Tell 'Em off of Sleigh Bells' debut album, Treats. And think of that slamming energy for 90 straight minutes. I've seen these guys before, and I'm excited for them to be back. Alexis Krauss and Derek Miller. Seeing them live is just a powerhouse show. They're going to be here August 9th at Slowdown. Grab those tickets at slowdown.com. theslowdown.com. All right, next up, this one is a doozy. So this one's big. We've got Outlandia Music Festival. This is a brand new festival for Omaha. It's a 2-day fest. It's happening August 12th and 13th at Falconwood Park. That is just south of Omaha. Take 75 south a little bit. Really cool camping and music venue outdoors. It's going to be great. So this was created by some of the founders of Maha Music Festival and booked by 1% Productions. That's the concert promoter that's been in town forever. They own the Waiting Room, Reverb, Sokol, now the Admiral. But Outlandia is starting off big. And obviously have big backers, people who know what they're doing. The 2-day festival will feature headliners Wilco and The National. So this is big stuff. The undercard is just as impressive. We've got Band of Horses, Local Natives, Silver Sun Pickups, Margot Price, The Breeders, Real Estate, Cat Hasty, Carolyn Spence. That's just incredible. We've also got local groups, Meeson Jicks and Clarence Tilton. So this is a big time lineup. This is one of the biggest music festivals Omaha's ever had. This is going to be really great. Just 15 minutes south of Omaha, just down the highway. Going to be great. It's amazing. I'm very, very excited for this one. You can go grab those tickets. They're single-day tickets, 2-day tickets, and VIPs over at outlandiafestival.com. So everyone's favorite campfire sing-along folk band, The Lumineers, is back. This is another one of those shows announced pre-pandemic a couple years ago and went through a series of postponements, but it's finally here. So get your boots ready to stomp along to Ho Hey and sing along when The Lumineers are here in August. I've seen them a few times, and it's a good time if you like that band. It's really fun. They'll be here August 16th at CHI Health Center. All right, so the Black Crowes, at one point, were going to tour arenas and play their album Shake Your Moneymaker in its entirety. That tour got canceled. I don't know. I think it was a pandemic thing specifically, but now instead of postponing like a lot of bands did, they just were like, cancel it. So now they're back. They're actually playing smaller venues, which to me is a little more fun. You get to see that band more up close and in person. It'll be a great time. They're going to perform Shake Your Moneymaker start to finish. It's their biggest album. It's their best album. And then after that, they're going to play a whole bunch of other stuff from their other records. It's going to be a really good time. They are coming to Stir Cove on August 19th. That one will be fun. First time I ever went to Stir Cove was to see the Black Crowes, and it's just a great show. They're a great band. That'll be really great. All right, so 89.7 The River's annual Rock Fest is back, and this time they are definitely bringing the rock, a lot of loud rock and roll. We've got Alice in Chains, Bush, and Breaking Benjamin all on the same bill. There's some other bands too. You can go check out the whole lineup at 897theriver.com, at ticketmaster.com. I've seen some of these bands before. They're really good. Alice in Chains, though they don't have their original lead singer, they've been together and producing new music and performing those old songs for a long time. Bush, Gavin Rossdale is still with it, still puts on a great performance. Breaking Benjamin, I've interviewed those guys and seen them before, so this is going to be a big, loud show out in Council Bluffs. That's August 20th at West Ferry Amphitheater. So we're getting to the end of the list. We're down to September already. Dinosaur Jr. is coming to the Waiting Room Lounge on September 25th. So last year, the screaming indie rock band released a new record, Sweep It Into Space. It was produced by Kurt Vile, which is just a great pairing, and Pitchfork called that album the breeziest and most melodically generous of the trio's reunion efforts. So the best thing they put out since they got back together quite a few years ago. Really, really cool. So catch them September 25th at the Waiting Room Lounge. Those tickets are at 1%productions.com. Thank you so much for listening. As I said earlier in the show, more good concerts are being announced all the time. That last end of the show, we went through July, August, September pretty fast because we're still filling out that end of the calendar. Be sure to head to popsandhisses.com for an updated list of concerts, plus links to buy the tickets and get more info. Bookmark that article. Come back to it often. We'll keep refreshing it with just the biggest, best, coolest shows that are coming to town. It's going to be a good one to keep your eye on. I want to remind you to submit questions that can be featured on a future installment of Ask the Music Guy, where you get to ask me music questions about whatever you want on this very podcast. Submit your questions at popsandhisses.com/question. I'm your host, Kevin Coffey, and you can follow me on Twitter as @OmahaMusicGuy or find my page on Facebook by searching for my name. Pops and Hisses has its own social media too, and the handle is Pops and Hisses, all one word on every social platform out there. So thank you for listening, and I also want to give a big thanks to our friends at Hurrdat Media. They produce the show, they put this show out, they do all the behind-the-scenes work, and it's awesome. So thank you, Hurrdat. I appreciate you so much. Find lots more of our podcasts, all different topics and subjects, great stuff, over at hurrdatmedia.com/network. That's HURRDAT media.com. Thank you, as always, for listening. I appreciate you so much. See you next time.
A Hurrdat Media Production.